I'm getting a little bit annoyed by how much slack that Pochettino has been getting recently. He's a pretty decent manager. He has his flaws, but I think he's getting way too much slack. I mean, this is a guy who led Spurs to second in the league in the 16-17 season, right? I think they had like nearly 90 points that season. Like, that's pretty good. And then he led them to their first ever Champions League final as well. And on top of that, I honestly think that he's been PSG's best manager in the last 10 years. Again, he gets so much unfair criticism for his time at PSG. So a lot of people blame him for losing the league in the 2021 season, but that wasn't his fault. That's Tuchel's fault. Before he got sacked, PSG were on track to getting 78 points in the league. After Pochettino comes in, like based on his win record, PSG would have won 88 points under him. The only reason PSG didn't win the league was because they had dropped too many points in the first half, and on top of that, Lille had an amazing season that year. They were accumulating points like crazy in the second half. So again, how is it his fault? He literally had PSG on track to accumulating nearly 90 points in the league. I mean, it's just crazy to blame a manager in this sort of scenario. And then the next season, Pu's basically forced to deal with Messi, right? He never wanted to sign Messi. PSG bought Messi just entirely for marketing reasons, even though buying Messi made absolutely no sense from a footballing perspective. He had to deal with a guy with zero off-the-ball output, who's jogging around 6-7 km per game, and he had to give a lot of tactical leeway to Messi, because for obvious reasons, this is the supposed GOAT who PSG had signed. And despite all this, he made PSG really competitive in the big games. So in his 2 years at PSG, he knocked out a pretty decent Barca side. PSG knocked out a Bayern side that had won the treble just a year earlier. And then the next season, pushed Madrid, that won the Champions League that season, to the very brink. And I also think that out of all the managers that PSG have had, Pochettino used Mbappe the best. Mbappe just looked absolutely scary under him all the time. And now, Pochettino is getting a lot of stick for Chelsea's troubles. And I don't really think that's fair. Chelsea's troubles started the moment they kicked Abramovich out. Even Thomas Tuchel struggled with them. And it was a complete disaster with Graham Potter last season. It's already a tough situation. They spent £1 billion and they still have Nicholas Jackson up front as their main striker? How can you blame Pochettino for such ridiculous transfer spending? Now, I'm not saying Pochettino is perfect. He's clearly not a very good man manager. He's very soft. He seems to lose the dressing room relatively easily, especially when there are a lot of big personalities. And the recent penalty fiasco, when Nicholas Jackson was almost demanding the penalty from Cole Palmer, I think that's another example of his, just lack of authority in the dressing room. But that being said, tactically he's pretty solid. He has a good track record with a lot of clubs. And I feel that he just gets way too much stick, and unfair stick, for PSG and Chelsea's failings. All in all, I think he's a decent manager. Good tactically, but a poor man manager.